Hi guys, which one? 10 here. The photo you're looking at now is another one that was taken, I believe, at Britannia Conservation early in the morning. It's one of my favorite photos. We're going to continue with the story. And here we go. Nicole made another call to Scott, who all had access to the video. Me, Abby, and Joe. His end went silent. Joe, I've got a phone call to make, he said, and he hung up. It felt like the entire world was falling apart. When Abigail finally went to the cabin, the last ray of sun disappeared behind the trees. Joe, did you upload the Thirsty video? Yeah, I did. I seen that little weasel had uploaded his. He didn't do it. Sounds like it was his cousin. Abby's really upset. I didn't think it would upset her. I thought if she watched, she'd see how much of a connection you have. That's why I made the comparison video. I appreciate what you did, but it backfired. Sage spoke with Neil. Yeah, I did. That rat bastard should see for himself that you two are in love. You should have told me. I went off on her. I don't think she'll ever speak with me again. I told her I wanted nothing more to do with her. Oh my God. I didn't think she'd be upset. I didn't think you'd be upset. I wasn't responsible for the comparison one, though. Must be Scott's former manager. They're playing dirty. Abigail went straight to bed. She lay there staring at the ceiling. Why always her? Why not someone else for a change? Joe admitted to Nicole. I'm sorry. As much as I've complained about your family, I know Scott wants her back. I never thought something so simple would end up like this. Nicole, she must see the chemistry between them. It was so obvious, Joe explained. The both of you should have your heads knocked together. I'm meaning you and the cousin. Nicole had had enough of phone calls. The following day, she went to see Abby. It was Neil and Joe. The guys had nothing to do with it. Their hope was you choose one of them. Maybe I'm better off alone. Abigail was deeply depressed. Don't say that. Nicole wasn't holding back. I think you should be with Scott. There, I said it. Despite what he's done, the man loves you. Thanks for all you've done. I appreciate it. You'll be okay, Nicole assured her. She left Abigail sitting in her favorite spot, the gazebo. Alone, she sat listening to the summer breeze in the branches. A light rain began. The sound was comforting. What did I do to deserve this? Why can't I be happy? Why do I feel like the only one? I could cry forever. She sat for hours, blankly staring at the water. There was no memory swaying her this way or that. The pain was real. The heartache compounded. Nicole let the men know to leave her alone. For once, they honored her wishes. Over the next 2 weeks, Abigail continually built herself up to tear herself down. Sage got on with his work. He didn't count on hearing from her anytime soon. Scott wasn't focused. Joe, just put out the songs. We have. I don't want to deal with this anymore. He picked up his keys and left. It was a sunny afternoon. The trees cast shadows across the road. Scott breathed deep. He knew where he was going. From the hilltop clearing, he could see the cabin sitting quietly beside the bay. He thought back to his history with the place. His first meeting with Abigail played over in his head. He hadn't been straight with her then. How many other times had he done the same thing? That entire visit was a lie. She was just another fan, another conquest. But Scott had played his part so well, Abigail had believed. The words came so effortlessly from his mouth. It had been true that his marriage was on the rocks, but it had nothing to do with his career. He and Barbara had been arguing since day one. The times in between the fights became less frequent. They both wanted out, but it was his unfaithfulness that did it. She put up with it, the secret of their marriage, until she couldn't anymore. Looking back, his relationships had been unhealthy. Sally was no better. She knew what was happening because she was the reason why. Sally seen dollar signs. She counted on loving him long enough for him to make it big. Well, that money didn't roll in as she expected, the first time or the second. Empty relationships, supposedly founded on love. But over time, he had grown to love Abigail. The old habits died hard. Down below, Abigail walked to the end of the dock. She took a seat and let her feet dip into the water. She watched the sun glisten on the surface. Better days came to mind. It made her remember not all of her life was full of pain. Memories of her father were foremost. It felt good to cry. She had been holding it back for so long. It had been 2 years. Scott and Sage had both been there for her. Now both of them were gone. Scott could see her from his vantage point. He couldn't see detail, but he knew it was her. She wasn't just a fan anymore. His words weren't empty. He truly cared for her. He was regretting all the trouble he had caused with Sage. It was the pride. He had enough. Scott jumped back in his car and went home. Sage sat staring at the screen. A video was playing, but he wasn't paying attention. "Earth to Sage," his cousin said. "What?" "Go see her. You're useless to us right now. Maybe she'll forgive you." Neil was attempting to make him feel better. "I don't know." Sage played with the pen in his hand. "Go." Reluctantly, he took his cousin's suggestion. When he pulled up to the cabin, Abigail was sitting out front. He noted the reaction on her face. He sat for a moment, then smiled. He slowly slid out of the car. "Hi." "Didn't think I'd see you here," she told him. "Thought you wanted nothing to do with me." Sage stood, leaning against the hood. "I was upset." "You didn't want to hear me. I was going to call you. Matter of fact, I had the phone in my hand." "I'm sorry." He began walking towards the steps. "I'm so tired of being hurt. I'm so tired of hearing sorry." He was now standing across from her in her chair. "Then I don't know what to say." That unmistakable look on his face, it always made her forgive him. Why do you have to be so fucking cute?" She continued to look at him. "I don't know what to do." Sage wanted to tell her, but he stayed silent. I must be stupid. She didn't smile, but her mind was made up. Thank you. He continued to stand. No bullshit. I won't stand for it. Her words were firm. No bullshit. No being a jackass. Sage thought of doing the old reintroduction, then decided not to. I've been decorating the place. Would you like to see? Sure. They walked inside. The kitchen was a pretty yellow, and the fireplace had been cleaned. Her photos now stood on the mantel. The staircase was painted black, which made it more modern. The 4 bedrooms were blues and greens, very calming. This is more you for sure. I'm glad to see the cameras. Yeah, Mel was happy to see them too. Abigail laughed as they made their way downstairs. Which room is mine? He seen the look. Just kidding. I'm glad we're talking. I am too. Things seem to be falling into place since I redecorated. Falling in place meant being comfortable to her, without both men in her life. Things had been quiet. Scott was back home. He relaxed into his sofa. His concert had gone well, and he was very pleased. It was a relief to be back at the bay with the right woman in the cabin. Scott followed suit and painted the apartment. It was a fresh start for them both. He was unaware that Sage had been to visit. He was under the impression that he was the only one. He grabbed a cup of coffee and peered out his window. It felt good. It felt right. Just then, he seen the door open. Abigail made her way to the garage. Seconds later, her car backed out. Since she had gone out, he decided to get some sleep. It had been early hours when his plane touched down. Abigail made her way to the familiar recording studio. Against all her denial, she was going to sing. She still didn't want Scott, but she wanted to sing. She had chosen a friend of Scott's to help her. He was sworn to secrecy. Over the following weeks, he watched Abigail leave and return. He was surprised at her hours. Believing she was going to the mansion, he thought he'd ask her to lunch. Hey, Mel, where's Abby? I have no idea. I haven't seen her in weeks. Really? I thought she was coming here in the mornings. She's been coming home late. No, she hasn't been here. Mel had no idea where Abigail could be going. Scott said thanks and left. Passing his studio, he caught sight of her. Is she recording again? At the next light, he turned back and parked in his lot. Mr. Wilson! Taylor was surprised to see him. Your ex-wife is here with Ben. What studio? He asked. Same as before, number 4. He didn't go right in. Scott went to a small break room that he had built into the space. He'd be able to hear her from there without her knowing. That voice so pure. Abby was amazing. He recognized this song, The Way I Feel Tonight, by the Bay City Rollers. Scott felt her emotion. It was affecting him. I continue to fall in love all the more, he quietly remarked. The next song was one of his, Try Not To. He thought she did a better job than him. It was time to go. The last thing Scott wanted was to be caught. He arrived home 20 minutes before her. He shouted out his window, "Abby, you ate yet?" "No, why, you cooking?" She shouted back. "Yeah, assorted meat subs. Interested?" "I'm on my way up." Abigail climbed the stairs and went through the open door, closing it behind her. "How was your day?" he inquired. "It was good. I'm enjoying myself." "How was yours?" she replied. "Good. I went to the mansion to ask you to lunch, but you weren't there." "I was at your recording studio. You may as well know." Scott placed a plate in front of her. "Coleslaw, if you want any." He put the container and a Pepsi by her. "I know. I drove by and seen you." "Your voice is amazing." She couldn't believe she was going to ask. Would you consider a duet?" Abigail knew he'd say yes. "Which song?" She wanted to say his latest, but didn't. "Count On?" He agreed. They were set for the following day. Scott would assist with the recordings. "Scott, what are you doing here?" his friend Ben asked. "I'm going to be singing with Abigail. She's right behind me." "Hey, Ben. I'd appreciate both of you working with me. Now remember, this is for fun." "That's fine," Ben said. "I love listening to your voice. I'd do this for nothing." "Don't be silly," she told him. Sage had given Abigail some space. "Abby, how's things?" "Good. How about with you?" "Very good. I was wondering if we could go out Friday." "I'm busy at the studio, but if you want, we could go out after. It would be a late night bite." "The studio? You're recording again?" "Yeah, it's been fun." "Scott's studio?" he had to ask. "Yes." She felt it. "Scott is helping, and so is his friend Ben. We sung a duet." Abby waited. "Cool." Sage tried to sound okay with it. "I wouldn't mind hanging out." "Okay, so Friday. I usually finish around 9. I'll let Taylor know to let you right on through." He got the date, despite her being with Scott at that time. Friday, Sage was knocking on Abigail's door. "What happened to you?" She was on crutches. "I went over on my ankle. It will have to be a home date. I'm sorry." "Hey, no problem. We can order out, watch some movies, talk." He closed the door behind him. They sat in the living room. "Getting chilly these nights." "Fall is moving closer," he said. "Why the small talk?" "Because I'm not sure what I should say." "Sage, come on." "Do you want me to light a fire? It'll take the chill out of the air." "Yes, thank you. I hate the thoughts of summer being over. I don't look forward to the winter anymore." "You always loved winter. It was your favorite season," Sage recalled. "Not now. I miss the warmth of the sun. I don't like all the layers of clothes either." "Maybe you should move to Florida," he suggested as a joke. "You know I would never do that." "What's for supper? I'm starving." "Whatever you want." They went with souvlaki and watched her choice of movie. It was getting late and her ankle pain had returned. "I'll grab you some Advil." Can you get up the stairs? Sage asked. No, I'm sleeping down here. My stuff is in the closet. Sage went over to the closet and brought out her things. Here, I'll close the blinds. Abigail changed. Sage helped pull off her jeans. He gently placed her leg on the sofa. I can stay if that's all right. He wanted to hear yes. I'll be fine. But then she thought, would be nice to have company. He knew where the cot was and wheeled it out. Sage put the bedding and an extra pillow on the cot. I think we will leave it there. What's going to happen? Is he going to stay on the cot? Or is he going to help himself? Or convince her to allow him? You'll have to wait and see. Thank you for coming by. To my regular listeners of my story, thank you very much. This encourages me to continue reading and to continue writing, which I have been doing like crazy. Matter of fact, I think once I'm finished here, I'll be going back and adding more to the story. So if you're new to my channel, please feel free to check out my other videos. I have crafting, I have my haunted experiences, I have haunted historic locations across Canada. I also talk about Canadian things, Canadian people, Canadian animals. I'll show you a few of the places around here. So if you'd be interested, take a gander. Find something you like. Thumbs up. Drop me a comment. Share it out if you think someone else would be. That's greatly appreciated. While you're here, consider becoming a subscriber. And if you do, remember to click the notification bell so that you'll know the next time that I upload. And now from a still very uncomfortably warm, hot Ottawa, with some cloud cover coming over. We had a bit of rain. It did not help. That's for sure. But anyways, have yourselves a great evening. And as always, until the next time, ciao for now.